Well, hello there, everyone. How you doing on this fantastic Friday? It's March 29th, year 2024. Hopefully you're doing outstanding. Yes, well, I am Mazske Finance, and today's video, I'm going to talk about why I chose Gary, Indiana, as the primary focus of where I have bought real estate. Okay, and I'm doing that for a reason. One of my comments on a video I made, someone asked me why did I choose Gary over an area in Cleveland, Ohio. So I'm going to explain why I chose Gary over this area and other areas. Okay? So with that being said, I am Mazske Finance, currently coming from you from a casita in the country of Panama. And at the end of this video, I'm going to throw out an idea. I may have mentioned this before, but just an idea that may intrigue you. Okay? So stick around to the end and I'll mention the idea. Okay? So with that being said, I'm Mazske Finance. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not a CPA. I'm not an attorney. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nutritionist. Nothing like that. I'm just a little guy who got the idea in his brain at the age of 49. I would have been 48 when I got the idea, 48, 49, to buy a rental property. So I bought my first rental property when I was 49 years old. Okay? So I bought in the state I was living in Virginia. I bought my first one in January. I bought my second one in December. I closed on it in December of that same year. Okay. As the next year came about, I bought a triplex. And then by that time, so I had a total of 5 units, a triplex and 2 single-family homes, 5 units. So by that time, I had found bigger pockets. On bigger pockets, I made contact with an investor / real estate agent in Birmingham, Alabama. And I subsequently visited Birmingham, Alabama, and I then in turn bought a single-family home in Birmingham later that year. And that was it for the second year. So by the end of the second year, I had, 6 units, I guess it was. Sometime towards the end of that year, I think it was, I was on Michael Zuber's YouTube channel. His channel was still fairly new. I was a guest on there, and I had his email address and I had his cell phone number. At some point after that video, I had texted him, told him I was thinking about using a turnkey company. I asked him if he knew this turnkey company. He told me he did not know this turnkey company, but he threw out a name of another individual who he said he had met this individual, he liked this guy, he trusted him as far as from what he could tell, and he told me where he invested. Okay, so he asked me, did I want to be put in touch with him? I said, sure. So he sent an email to me and Tom Olson. Tom Olson is with the Olson Group up in Northwest Indiana, Gary, Indiana. And Tom wrote me back and said he put me in touch with Jared. And he CC'd Jared on it, Jared Stokemeister. Jared is his right-hand man. And subsequently, I visited Gary, Indiana. I met Jared. I met his property manager at the time, Cheryl. I met Kurt, my current property manager. He also was overseeing contractors as he did work. And so anyway, then I subsequently bought my first property in Gary, Indiana. As that year progressed, that would have been in 2019. As 2019 was progressing, I got the idea in my mind. I wanted to sell a house that I owned in Virginia because I didn't like the layout of it. I liked the house, but it was below street level. It was on a cul-de-sac, which normally on a cul-de-sac, you got the last house. It's kind of nice there. It's private. And it was private. It had a woods behind it. I saw a deer down there, this and that. But it was below street level. You had to go down. The driveway was steep. I rebuilt the steps on the front because they were steep. And it just seemed like it was a liability if someone fell, it was icy in the wintertime, they slid down that driveway and went through the fence and down that bank or something. I just didn't feel comfortable owning it for that reason. All those steps, lots of steps out front, all those steps. So I just didn't feel comfortable. So anyway, I knew prices were going up. I knew I got a good deal on buying the house. I got it under market value. So I then subsequently did put it on the market and I did sell it. And with recouping my down payment and making a profit on it, I got enough money to buy 4 more houses in Gary, Indiana from the Olson Group. I bought all 4. They're all turnkey company. Olson Group is a turnkey company. They're still in operation up there in Gary. Okay, so I bought those 4 houses. And I also bought, along that same time period, I bought a second house down in Birmingham, Alabama. I did the BRRRR strategy on that. It was a successful BRRRR strategy. I pulled out all my money, and it was basically a free house to me, okay? But by that time, as I got these other 4 houses, that's when Kurt and his wife Vicky became my property managers. And I subsequently got to know them a bit. We texted, we emailed, we talked on the phone. And as time went on, I bought more houses and more houses. Kurt called me up one day, told me about a package of 4 houses, and I bought 2 out of the 4. And then I bought a house in my self-directed IRA from the Olson Group. But then Vicky one day told me about a gentleman that was selling some houses, and he might offer seller financing. So I was put in touch with them, and I bought a total of 9 houses from them. And then I also bought a house off the MLS up in Gary. So as this all progressed over about a 2-year period, I got a total of, I think, 20 houses up in Gary. I have 2 property managers, Kurt and Vicky. They put me in touch with contractors. I've been to Gary again. I've seen the city. I've seen the changes from 2019 to 2023, how the city is changing. So why did I choose Gary? The easy answer. Someone recommended boots on the ground to me. Okay, that's what you need for an area, boots on the ground. By getting that first contact, by using that turnkey company, I met property managers. Okay, and I started to learn the area more so. And that all helps things, because you got to have trusted boots on the ground when you're not investing in your backyard. That's why I chose Gary. That's why I did not choose Cleveland. That's why I didn't choose Memphis. That's why I didn't choose Kansas City, because I did not look into those areas to find my boots on the ground. Birmingham, where I mentioned I bought 2 houses, I never was successful in getting great boots on the ground. I went through 3 property managers there. And ultimately, leading up to today, I've sold both those houses in Birmingham. I no longer own those 2 houses because I did not have my trusted boots on the ground there. Not saying you can't be a successful investor in Birmingham. We're all different, okay? I'm not saying you can be a successful investor in Gary. Do you have your boots on the ground? Okay, this goes for everybody. Now, I'm willing to share. I told you the first names of my contacts, my property managers. I told you the turnkey company I use there. If you feel like if you want to do your due diligence on Gary, that's your decision. Gary is a city that fell on hard times. There's no guarantee that it will become a successful city. But if you can find a good deal, I'll add this in. Every market, literally in the United States of America, has rental property. Every market has successful real estate investors. You can be a successful real estate investor in any market you choose as long as you run your numbers and buy properly and buy a nice house, a good house. And you learn how to find property managers. You learn how to screen tenants. You learn how to do everything that needs to be done. Okay? If you're buying out of state, primarily you got to find a good quality, trusted property manager. And then they can find the contractors. They have contractors. They can recommend real estate agents. Maybe they're a real estate agent, and so on and so on and so on. So I don't tell anyone to buy in Gary, Indiana. But with that being said, I have helped a variety of people to buy in Gary, Indiana. I have encouraged a variety of people to buy and invest in Gary, Indiana. If you all know Millennial Mike, he has a YouTube channel. In his words, he told me I begged him for a year before he decided to invest there. Now he calls himself the King of Gary. There's no royalty, okay, so there's no King of Gary. My 2 sons own rental property in Gary. Helicopter pilot Caleb has been on my YouTube channel. Millennial Mike's been on my YouTube channel. If you look at my playlist, Interview with Others, you can find videos with Millennial Mike. You can find videos with Helicopter pilot Caleb. Helicopter pilot Caleb owns something like pushing 20 houses up in Gary. I have mastermind groups. Other investors who invest in Gary have been on my channel. Tyler has been on my channel. He has houses in Gary. David has been on my channel. He just bought his first house in Gary. Darius has been on my channel. He has houses in Gary. And so on and so on and so on. There's others that own houses in Gary. There are some who have bought houses in Gary. My friend Will has 4 houses up in Gary. Will, when he bought his 4 houses, he's had a lot of bad luck starting off. At one point in time, he had to rehab, I think 3 out of 4, and maybe the 4th the tenant wasn't paying the rent. It was hard. He had to cover those 4 mortgages out of his pocket without rent coming in and pay for rehabs to be done. So he struggled with it. But I believe now the rehab's been done, good tenants are in there, he's getting his rent checks in, life is good, okay? But sometimes when you're still small, if it's luck of the draw sometimes, if you have 3 houses and all 3 need to be rehabbed at the same general time period, that can suck your cash reserves dry if you don't have a healthy cash reserves, okay? If you have 20 houses, 25 houses like I did, and all of a sudden you got to rehab 6 or 7 and they're 10 grand, 15 grand, and you got to do them all in a year, that can suck your cash reserves dry, as I experienced that, okay? So with that being said, I said at the beginning I want to throw something out at the end right here. I'm going to tell you about an idea I've thought of. Way back when I was living in Florida, before I ever moved here to Panama, I bounced an idea out. I might have mentioned on this channel, maybe I did not, I don't know. But I had talked to the missus, she doesn't like this idea, but I had talked to the missus about moving to Panama with the intention of saving money. I had talked about selling my house in Florida, and then I'd have a chunk of money in the bank, and I could put it in getting like 5% interest, and if it was a chunk of money, a couple $100,000, 5% of interest would basically pay rent here, or pay a good portion of my rent here, okay? But my house in Florida didn't sell. It's now an Airbnb, okay? So it didn't sell, I didn't get that chunk of money in the bank. Panama is cheaper, but Panama is not as cheap as it used to be. I do live in a expat community here. If I wanted to live cheaper, I could live in another place, in a Panamanian style house, not a gringo style house. I am moving in just a couple of days to a condo. It's a gringo type condo, but it's $700 cheaper than this one. Plus probably altogether $800 cheaper with utilities and not having to buy pool chemicals and that sort of thing. So anyway, the idea I'm thinking of doing, I signed a 1-year lease there. 1 year, so take me into 2025. I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but this idea may be of interest to you at some point if you become financially independent. I watched the Orioles opening day yesterday. I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan. I was born and I grew up in the state of Maryland. I like the Baltimore Orioles. My dad is still alive. He's 81 years old. He still lives in Maryland. What I'm thinking about it, possibly a year from now, is getting an Airbnb somewhere in Maryland for about 6 months. Beginning of April and middle of October. It might be 6.5 months, roughly. That's the baseball season, okay? I was pulling up houses looking at it today. I can find, it's expensive in Maryland. It's expensive there. But I can find several properties that have close proximity to Baltimore City and or the area I grew up in. I found 1 or 2 that have swimming pools in the backyard. I found some that are in the city, they're townhouses. I found apartments. You know how it is with Airbnb, you find everything. I haven't looked on VRBO or Furnished Finder or any of the other sites out there, or I haven't spread the word about looking for a 6-month rental up in that part of the country. Sometimes you find your best places to live by word of mouth. This person knows that person who has a place coming available for 6 months or something, whatever it may be. Okay, so it's just an idea. But it's an idea. As I said, the missus isn't in love with this idea, but I am. Hopefully she will get on board with it and we can do something like this. But if we live 6 months in Maryland, sure, in April when we go there it's a little chilly. In October when we leave it's a little chilly. But we lived in Maine for 3 winters. We know what cold weather's like. Okay, I grew up in Maryland. I know what the weather's like in Maryland. Lived in Virginia for 20-some years. I know what the weather's like in Virginia. Okay, so we may do that. I did originally have the idea of maybe that I will go live in an Airbnb for 3 months or 4 months, somewhere where one of my boys might be by that time, or a different part of the country. Maybe I'll live for 2 months out in Montana or whatever, just somewhere, bounce around a bit. But we shall see. We shall see. I do have a 3-year plan, 3-year master plan, 3-ish years of wanting to do something. So that falls in that 3-year window where I'm not settling in one area just yet. So while I haven't settled in one area, I may venture out. Because it's also, if I'm in Maryland area, I can fly out of BWI or Dulles and fly almost anywhere in the country for cheaper probably than I can fly here. Depends on where I'm going. It all depends. Here, I can fly down South America cheaper if I want to, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll see. We'll see. It does pose other questions though. If I live somewhere for 6 months, that's not here, and I own a SUV here. I own a nice Toyota Fortuner here, 4-wheel drive. But if I live in the U.S. for 6 months, what do I do for transportation? Do I use Airbnbs and taxi cabs, or do I rent a car for 6 months, or do I buy something with the intention of selling it in 6 months? I don't know. I don't know that answer. I don't know. So anyway, let me know what you think below in the comments if you so desire. So with that being said, I don't know when my next video will come about. I may make a video tomorrow. I will be moving here very soon. There may be a slight delay in making another video, or you may see me chop, 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 make a video a day. We shall see. All right, so with that being said, have a great day. Maskies signing out.